again. This is the Comic Culture Warrior YouTube video channel. I'm Elliot Serrano. This is Jose Melendez. Coming to you from Dreamland Comics, where we discuss the comics that we read, the comics that we love, and sometimes the comics that we loathe.
A lot of loathing going on.
And now we're going to get into some areas where some folks just might downright disagree with us. Not like they don't always disagree with us. We have a couple books we want to point out some issues with. First,
the second part to Batman, Rest in Peace, Batman 677. Good story. Well, not the other Grant Morrison book, by the way.
The other Grant Morrison book, yes.
Which I totally am digging Batman. I'm totally digging, like, all the stories that he did. But, man, if there's one problem that I have with this book, it is probably the biggest problem I have with any book that keep me from enjoying it, is this art. This art is so fucking bad.
Tony Daniel's not winning you?
He never has. And we've talked about this before. Like, why is Tony Daniel on one of the top tier books for DC? Like, they need to, like, the one, I mean, Kubert was on here when we started with Morrison.
But he couldn't
that
finish it.
That was alright.
He couldn't do it.
And then they had J.H. Williams do a 3-part story arc, which was awesome.
But
like,
he's also one of the slowest artists in the
That's
biz.
fine, but it came out on time for 3 months, and that book, I mean, that story arc was just fucking awesome.
Okay.
And then Tony Daniel comes on, and Grant Morrison, his storytelling is kind of all over the place sometimes.
Talk about Grant Morrison's script? Or?
Yeah, Grant Morrison's script. I mean, look at Final Crisis, how all over the place it was.
It
and
is.
You know, and, I mean, that's just the way he writes.
Right.
But you need to put him with an artist who can tell a story, you know, can help it move along. And this art is so awful. Like, it's bad enough not knowing what's going on because it's Grant Morrison's script some of the times, but, like, this art is not helping. And this art detracts more from this story than any other book that I've read in a long time. It is, I mean, I know a lot of people love Tony Daniel, but a lot of people love Mark Bagley. A lot of people love, like, other just artists who can get shit done out and can get stuff out on a monthly basis, and that's fine. That's serviceable art. But, you know, when you're doing a huge story arc like this, and this is like the big Batman story that they're hyping for this summer, you really need to get some talented people on here. And this art is just, I mean, I cannot say enough bad things about this art, to tell you the truth. It just, and I almost just want to drop this book. But I don't, because there's some really interesting stuff going on with it. And there has been throughout the entire Morrison Batman run.
Well, then you're basically confirming that what the editor of that book is thinking, that, okay, well, the art might not be this, but people are still going to read it.
Okay, yeah, I can give you that.
So you're never going to get...
But unfortunately, that's how all the books are now. It's like you very rarely get, like, good artists with...
Well, there aren't a lot of good artists, though. That's just... The fact of the matter is that there aren't that many great artists out there. The ones that are out there work very slowly. They can't do a monthly book. And the ones that can do a monthly book are workmen. They're good, but they're just not
No, they're
great.
not good. They're awful.
Great. I mean,
they're serviceable.
They're serviceable.
I mean, you know, they get the shit done, and that's... But there's no excuse for this.
But that's part of a monthly book. And not to get off point, but I blame the industry for years and years and years just downright discouraging. I've seen discouraging kids from even trying to draw comic books, saying that there are so many artists out there right now. You're not going to be able to get them.
And the other bad part about it is that you have all these faux artists, these illustrators who like to trace and lightbox shit, and they pass it off as comics.
But
Brian Hitch, Greg Land, especially, like, you get all those guys. Those guys aren't comic book artists, all right? They're illustrators first and foremost. And you know what? If you're a good illustrator, stick to illustration and getting paying gigs somewhere. Don't come to comics, because really, and that's the whole problem. There's no good up and coming, like, regular artists. I mean,
I'm sure. I mean,
like,
they're
pure comic book artists who are draftsmen and cartoonists. I mean, there just isn't a lot of that anymore. It's just all...
Or at least not in the mainstream. I'm sure there's some really great artists out there among the racks.
Well, all the good draftsmen in like cartooning artists are all doing indie stuff. And that's why, because that's where their stuff sells. Like, they can't get paying gigs with with Marvel or DC. It's Marvel especially. The art, most of the artists over at Marvel, just, you know, how exciting can a fucking tracing of photograph be? I mean, from a comic book standpoint. I mean, think about, like, who was doing that when we were kids, like, reading comics in the 80s? I mean, who
if there
wasn't...
were some, the technology today allows a lot more cheating than it did back then.
I know. Well, that's the whole problem, is that, you know, technology has made it to the point where you don't need any fucking talent at all to do art.
Yeah, that's true. Now with Photoshop and scanning, being able to scan, Which then, why, you know, why is Tony Daniels' work just workman if he has all this? You know, I myself, I don't read Batman, so I don't have an opinion on Tony Daniel. I mean, you know, I give him props for getting the work done on time on a regular basis.
Well, and that's why he's on that book.
That's why he's on that book. And people are buying it. So you can't fault Tony Daniel for getting the job done.
I'm not blaming Tony Daniel. I'm blaming the editors for, you know, letting this shit pass as good, like, good art. It's not good art, but, like, making it, I don't know.
Used to be that an event book had an event artist on it, and it's just not the case anymore.
And Final Crisis does, and Secret Invasion does, but it's like there's more, you know. Like, where the fuck are the Kuberts? Like, you know.
I think they're in the next Bachelorette. I think Adam and Andy are going to be.
You know, it took forever for the one Batman book to come out, and then they finally just finished that fucking Action Comics storyline in the annual. I mean,
which was pretty cool. I mean, I could see why it took a while.
That art was
awful.
That art was awful in that annual, except for the Stefan Roux stuff in the back. Yeah. Oh,
that was beautiful. That was good stuff.
That was good stuff.
You're right.
But again, all right, let's talk about something else.
All right, then we'll end this segment on that. We'll just we're doing it, pulling a Siskel and Ebert here, and I'll be the fat guy as always. So we'll see you in the next segment.